Yo. Oh, hang on. Whoop.
I'm so happy you're recording this.
This will be all be on the Patreon.
This is absolutely fantastic. It looked like you just fucking like floated in from outer space.
No, you know in 2001 A Space Odyssey when he goes through the void, is like
Dude, so my senior year of high school, I took this film class and we had to write a 5+ page paper on either a director or a certain genre of film. And then we had to write
I chose Kubrick and sci-fi.
it was either or, and then we had to write an additional 2+ page paper on a film either by that director or in that genre. So at the time, I had only seen The Shining and Doctor Strangelove. But
great movies though.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, The Shining to this day is still potentially my favorite movie.
Oh no, dude, it's as watchable as Wizard of Oz, Jurassic Park, or anything like that. Oh, cool, Shining's on. I guess I'll just drop what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and it's like, and I love the book too. I mean, the book and the movie are two totally different.
You read
like,
the book? Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, dude?
It is.
You know the topiary lion sequence when the hedge lions are coming to get him. That for me was like, oh, that's where Doctor Who got the blink angels from. Like, it's literally the same thing.
Did I tell you I wrote a song about that episode of Doctor Who? I'll have to send it to you. But yeah, the funny thing is, like with the book and the movie, it's like there's the Stephen King stands who are like, oh, Kubrick changed so much. But it's like, who fucking cares? Like, they're both in totally different ways. They're both great. Like, I don't
look. The moment they cast Jack Nicholson, you know they're not going to do the descent into madness. He's already fucking mad, you know.
But it worked. And man, I
can't get my eyebrows that high up. He's literally go up there and then come.
Yeah. I don't know. Is this going to be on the Patreon right here? Man, I met Stephen King because Stephen King lives in the same town in Maine as some of my relatives. And he was doing a book signing once at this bookstore. And we went in like 3 hours before it was supposed to happen, but he was just already there sitting at this table and no one was in there. It was just Stephen King just hanging there at a table by himself. And I was like, what? And I'm like 11 years old. Like, I don't really know, because apparently like he also like he hated the movie. He thought it did it in just blah, blah. But like I didn't know any of this at the time, but I loved the movie and I made a comment to him like, oh my God, like I love The Shining and it's so cool because like the movie's also so great. And like, what was that like? And he was so fucking cool. He was like, oh, he told me the story about like just talking to Stanley about it. He didn't like go off on any tangents. Like for such a fucked up author, he's like the most down to earth, like coolest fucking thing.
I mean, half of his books are literally, they are literally inspired by drugs and alcohol.
I think he's been sober for just about as long as Ringo has. I think just over 30 years now.
Me and Stephen had a lot of nights we can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was weird when I met Stephen King.
I'm not signing any more books. I'm not signing any more books after the 20th of October.
Peace and love. I will not be. Please don't give me any books. I'm warning you.
Oh my God. Accidentally, we were watching season 7 of The Simpsons at my mate's last night because he's got a new house and no Wi-Fi, so it's DVD season at his.
Awesome.
And beautiful. Lisa the vegetarian came on and everyone in the room just went, just looked straight at me. And I was like, and then obviously Apu leads Lisa upstairs and I'm literally like this. Oh. And then after it happens, I turn to them and go, okay, I'm good now, everyone, we can carry on. You can talk again now.
Yeah, y'all are good now. That's so funny.
None of them noticed that Paul and Linda have pupils that are coloured. Only characters on The Simpsons to ever have that. Linda's got blue eyes. Paul's got brown eyes.
Maybe that was a weird stipulation. Maybe like Paul was trying to fuck with him. Like, I'll do it if you do this. But what I was gonna say, and I don't want to waste any more
Oh no,
time.
dude. So we're gonna have to talk about something else in a minute, and we will make a visual guide for me so I know what to cut out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to share this because I know that you'll appreciate this. When I was taking that film class and we got that assignment, like I said, I had only seen The Shining and Doctor Strangelove, but I knew you're like, oh, this is the guy that also did Full Metal Jacket, 2001. So I'm like, I'm gonna choose Stanley Kubrick because it's an opportunity. I watched 2001 and A Clockwork Orange in the same day.
That's a lot to take in. That's a lot to take in. Man.
I did not sleep that night.
Yeah. The Clockwork Orange book's really good as well. It's only like you can read it in a day.
No, you can't. What the fuck? You have to keep going back to the fucking dictionary in the back. It takes like a month to get through.
Like I remember that there were 3 books I read in a day, like not in the same day, but there have been 3 books I read in one day. One was A Clockwork Orange. One was the book that Eyes Wide Shut was based off, the novella. Is it called like Dream Story or something like that?
It's something like that. That's an underrated film.
Oh no, it's his it's not his best film, but
it's not his best.
It's the one that's closest to my heart.
Yeah.
Because if you look at every girlfriend I've ever had for a long period of time, they basically have all been Nicole Kidman clones. Like they have just been. I mean, I've been watching Jerry Maguire today. I love me some Cruising Kid. Show me the Macca. Show me the Macca.
Tom Cruise might be borderline fucking evil, but he's a great actor.
Oh man. And like, it's nice to see him in a non-action role for a change. I need to watch Magnolia. I think that's the one where he cries a lot.
You need to watch Tropic Thunder if you've never seen that.
Oh yeah, I've seen the scenes on YouTube. I remember I was about 15, and the moment Steve Coogan died, I thought, oh fuck this, I'm not going to watch this anymore. I was like,
no, Tropic Thunder is actually
dude being a dude trying to play another dude. Yeah.
I mean, Robert Downey's a miracle, but honestly, Ben Stiller too. I think everything that Ben Stiller does is fucking genius.
Are you a Ben Stiller stan? Wow, I've never met a Ben Stiller fan. Genuinely.
Have you ever seen? You know, he did The Cable Guy. Like that's Ben. He's not in it. He just wrote it and directed.
You know what? That's another blank spot of mine. I've never really been into the Jim Carrey serious roles except for Eternal Sunshine. Yeah.
Well, Eternal Sunshine is a top 5 film, but dude, The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah, I forgot about that.
and Man on the Moon. It's a flawed movie, but his
Andy Kaufman. Oh God, fucking hell! You've reminded me of so many movies that I've seen.
Jim Carrey for me. Jim Carrey is up there with Nicholson for me. Like the comedic. Like I've seen Dumb and Dumber 100 times and I still laugh at it. But as an actor, I mean, I think the fact that I was 13 years old when that movie came out, and that was when I had the moment that a lot of people have in their 20s and 30s when they realize the Academy Awards are bullshit. When he wasn't even nominated for Best Actor, I'm like, this is the worst. They gave the Oscar to fucking $1 Million Baby. Like the worst, and they only did it because the best film that came out in 2003 was Mystic River. Mystic River is a goddamn masterpiece. But
I've heard that it's really overrated compared to a lot of the other Oscars.
No. Listen, there's 2 things you need to understand. You're fucking
listen.
Whoever told you that is stupid, and whatever thoughts that your weird fucking Tom Waits loving friend is putting in your head about Bob Dylan and like how you shouldn't like those are whatever you owe it to yourself.
On the latest Another Kind of Mind episode, you will hear me do a Bob Dylan impression. It's pretty funny.
I'm sure. I still need. I need to get back into them, but
oh man, I need to get back into all the Beatle podcasts. I've fallen out. Like I can't remember the last time I listened to Boop or Boop. You know, I'm not gonna name names because I don't want to upset anyone. If you're listening to this and you're a Beatles podcaster, I have been listening to your show. Don't worry.
Just not all the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, surely you watched my Ken Michaels appearance.
Oh man, I was so happy to see you against someone that was a decent foil for you for a change, I guess.
You're
No,
my
but
decent
I
spoil.
saw, no, we're Lennon and McCartney, but that was like seeing, Lennon on like the David Frost show or something.
I'll take
So,
that.
so please, Mr. Sevey, how was your time on Pool or Nothing? Yes, well.
I just need to be chain smoking the
Yeah.
entire fucking time. But sorry, there was a huge ass fucking spider just on me. It scared the shit out of me. Give me 1 second.
Oh my God, Woo! Kill it.
This will be good for the Patreon.
Oh man.
God damn it, that scared the fuck out of me.
I'm gonna check my legs now, I'm scared.
Where'd you go, you fucker? All right, hold on.
And you live in a country where like every spider's not just a friendly house spider.
Oh, dude, are you down here? Look up a fucking brown recluse. That's what we have to deal with in Nashville.
Oh, they're the ones that literally turn your skin into zombie skin, aren't they?
Yeah, not great. Not ideal, I would say. Where'd you go, you piece of shit?
I'd love it to crawl across the camera now.
Oh my God. There is a spider in this house and I don't know where it is. I fucking hate everything.
There's a moose about this house.
Ugh. God damn it.
There is a rat in the kitchen. What are we gonna do? Just before we start, I'm gonna show you something.
Yes. Oh hell yeah, dude.
My sister got me for my birthday. And I'm gonna take a picture, put it on Twitter, merch ?
Dude, I will buy one. I will pay for shipping and handling. I will do all of it.
I want a shirt, a mug, and a cap. I need a cap with my logo on it. I love caps so much right now.
You need a picture disc of it in Target red and Walmart green and Spotify green.
That'd be a funny parody to do my merch like McCartney 3. That'd be really. That
would be.
And then I could do McCartney merch imagined as well.
And then one of the bonus tracks can be like the demo logo where McCartney was spelled wrong.
No, isn't it No More Lonely Nights has a misspelling quite famously? It's like No More Lonely Nights.
Does it?
Yeah, because
I
do that a lot where it's an an E-L-Y. I tend to put like L-E-Y instead, or the other way around.
Yeah.
And it's one of them, I think.
You know what was really weird? I was writing out a note last night, and I forget what word I was writing, but it ended in a K. And I literally, after I was done writing it, 3 times in a row, even when I was thinking about it, I instinctively just drew an E after the K. I forget what word it was. It might have been like work or something like that. W-O-R-K. And then I just started writing the E. I'm like, why am I like, and I felt myself doing it. Like, why? Why does my hand want
It's like in Lila when it's like, the pen is blue.
Exactly. So the goddamn pen is blue. But yeah, I don't know. It just happens, but okay. So
Macca in your attic.
You want to do that first?
Yeah, we'll get that out of the way. It's a fun one. It's breezy, energetic, and I'm going to come in 5. Hello, and welcome to Macca in Your Attic, a Paul or Nothing spin-off show where the guest always shows me their junk. Together, we're going to go through their attic, as it were, and sift through the tit and the tat to find primo McCartney memorabilia. We're going to see 5-ish items from their collection. They may be fun, strange, unique, rare, valuable, or even just sentimental, each with their own story, hopefully. As always, be sure to check us out on our Patreon page, links down below. And to get in contact with us, hit us up at paulmccartneypod@gmail.com or at McCartneypod on Twitter if you want to just say hi. Today, everyone, I'm joined by someone who I absolutely adore talking Beatles with. He's a prolific musician in his own right, and he's a wonderful counter to my musical skill set. He's one of the few people that also remembers that this is all just an act. This is all just a ride, and all of the arguments are largely hyped up for entertainment value. Sorry to reveal the recipe to you folks. We are entertainers at the end of the day. He's been on Paul or Nothing several times now, and after recording this, he's going to be appearing on it again. But for now, please, everyone welcome my good friend Dylan Sevey to the show. Welcome to Macca in Your Attic, dude. What's going on?
You have such a gift of making me feel loved, whether you're telling me to fuck off or actually telling me nice things. Are we allowed to swear on this show? Because
yeah, you can.
Hell yeah.
Oh God, I get so many people commenting saying, "Oh, why'd you have to swear?" And I'm like, "Fuck you, that's why." It's like,
they're just words. They don't control us, you know.
if you don't like swearing, Ethan's show will more than happily, you know. Oh no, I think Ethan
Oh,
swears as well. Actually,
we
who doesn't
love
swear?
Ethan.
No, no, Ken doesn't swear. I don't believe. Talk More Talk doesn't swear.
I think generally you're the another kind of mind. They'll get a little.
They'll get a bit blue. But like, could you imagine just Kit O'Toole coming out with like a motherfucker or something? Like you'd spit your drink out, wouldn't you?
Kit, if you're watching this, we're all waiting.
Yeah.
So
Just
make it happen.
Make us a little TikTok, would you? Now, I've got to say, dude, the pleasure here is all mine today, and I have no idea what you've got. We've never really talked about your collection before. We've talked about a lot of things, but you've mostly sat in your lounge as well, or in your kitchen. Do you have a Beatles room, or do you have an attic? Have any of these come downstairs at all?
Well, I do have an attic, and in the year and a half that I've been living in this house that my fiance and I bought, I've never been up in it. But I will say, my collection that I've got for you today is kind of strange. It might not be as interesting or maybe not as like collectible as maybe other people's, but they do have a very sentimental attachment to me, and a big part of that is because I'm 30 years old now, and I started becoming obsessed with the Beatles when I was 8, and in my early years of Beatles fandom, probably right up until my mid to late teens, I saved every bit of Beatles magazine and newspaper clippings that I could find. And so in my garage, I've got a tub about this thick with calendars, magazines, newspapers, articles, clip outs, everything like that. And then
is that just going to be one item today? I just want to look at that right now. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
maybe for a bonus episode, I'll show you the entire thing.
Dylan's tub, yeah, we'll call it that. Dylan's box. Yeah,
Everyone's
don't open Dylan's box, ladies and gentlemen.
The tub of war, if you will.
The tub of war. There we go.
But yeah, I do have a little Beatles. I don't have a Beatles room, you know. Sometimes I feel a little self-conscious watching so many, not even just Beatles shows, but other great YouTube channels. A bunch of my good buddies run a channel called Listography that I'd highly recommend to everyone out there. They go through a bunch of different artists' discographies and rank them from their least favorite to favorite, and they do same with a top 10 songs, and they'll do albums of the year, songs of the year, and it's all highly entertaining, really intelligent. But you know, they've got it, and so many other Beatles people have it, where they've got the wall of records. Like, I got a kitchen right here, you know, I could, I don't know, maybe grab my Abbey Road record and place it right here to look all real nice.
No, I've had a couple of people, I know Roger Simons did it, and I know Dan Ely did it, where they set up a little like arrangement just especially for the show. I loved it. I was like, oh, you put stuff on your mantelpiece.
I would have done that, but unfortunately I'm working with a bum computer right now that only works when it's plugged in, so I'm kind of a slave to the outlet situation right now.
Now, I've got an interesting question for you. I remember I was in a relationship where the concept of a man cave or a man room was deeply offensive and sexist, and I think even I've come around to somewhat agreeing with that. Like, if anything, I'd like my Beatle crap to be spread evenly all over the house. Do you feel like you would want a man cave like that, or do you feel like you would rather just have, you know, on every other wall, you know, a framed album or something, you know?
I feel like the only I feel like the sexist connotation to a man cave, a big aspect of it is, I guess, to a degree, the name. It's like, who's to say that a woman shouldn't be able to have her own place and room for her hobbies or wants? She absolutely should, and if she wants to. So that aspect, but I fully plan on taking my shed, our shed, out back and kind of gutting it a little bit and making it my own little safe haven. I won't say man cave, but my own little place to escape. because that way when I escape there, she has the whole house to escape to.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Happy wife, happy life. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. So you're 8 years old. You first started getting into the Beatles. What's the first item you buy with your own money?
The first Beatles item that I can remember buying with my own money was from a superstore. Now, so I don't know where our American and British differences are going to come into play here. And this might only be a thing that people of a certain age from the northeastern United States might know. But I'm sure, I don't know if they have these over in Britain, but I think you've probably at least heard of Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, I've heard of Bed Bath & Beyond.
So
yeah.
I don't know what you call that style of store, but
home store.
Yeah, okay. So there's a big one here in the United States called Marshall's. And there used to be a chain, as far as I know, it was only in the Northeast, called Ames, Ames. And they had their section for CDs and DVDs and VHS tapes. And I believe the first thing I recall buying with my own money was the original 1987 pressing of Magical Mystery Tour on CD, because a lot of my initial Beatles collection, and the first thing I'm going to show you today kind of plays into here, came from things that my dad owned or my family members owned. But that was the first one. I know the first CD I ever bought with my own money was a used copy of Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty at a store that I ended up working at called Looney Tunes. But I think Magical Mystery Tour, I had burned copies of the White Album, Let It Be, and the Red and Blue albums, and Magical Mystery Tour was my next one, with my great 9-year-old allowance.
That's so funny, because the first album for the Beatles I ever bought was on vinyl, Magical Mystery Tour, the US pressing.
I was gonna say the only Beatles record in canon, what's considered canon, where we go with the US version, and rightfully so.
I think Hey Jude should be a canon album as well, even though it's all over the place. I like the image, I like the song list, I like how scattershot and all over the place it is.
I love Hey Jude, but it's not. I mean, collection of oldies and goldies isn't canon for a reason either. For the same reason, great artwork, great song selection. But
I would argue with you on the great art. You know, that guy like leaning back, like whoa.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It is pure 1966, like "What's Up, Pussycat" goodness. Like that's golden.
Satanic lack of majesty, yeah, something like that.
R.I.P. Charlie Watts.
R.I.P. Charlie Watts. Anyone else in your family collect stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My father's CD and LP collection is wonderful. You know, I hope that I'll get a lot more time with my dad, but you know, he has promised me that when the time comes, I will be inheriting quite a bit of his massive selection, which will require potentially an extension on the house to hold. But yeah, you know, I grew up. I mean, the thing is, I'm so glad that you host this channel, Sam, because you know, look, I'm a dirty millennial, and I utilize the streaming services as much as anyone else, even though the business model of the streaming services is absolutely horrific and evil. That's another conversation for another time, but
I'm sure we've definitely had that conversation on air.
I think we have.
Go and check out episodes with Dylan Passin, of course.
The beauty of the tangible product is something that, you know, in some ways I can't really describe it, but I do think to some degree it's like, you know, we may never meet any of these artists or have a true personal connection to them, but it gives us that sense of a personal connection. Like, I might never meet Bruce Springsteen, but I've got his live 75 to 85 5 record set, you know, that's mine. and I can listen to this whenever I want on my record player.
You know what it reminds me of? I was raised Catholic. So in Catholicism, there's the idea of transubstantiation, and it's the idea that so in most Protestant faiths, when you take the Eucharist, the host, the body of Christ, it's symbolic. In Catholicism, I'm not a practicing Catholic years ago, but in Catholicism, it literally becomes the body of Christ. And, you know, streaming is like the Protestant version of the Eucharist and streaming. Whereas when you buy the physical product, it almost makes it become that artist. Like it's almost like you've got a little piece of them physically, and it becomes more than just a piece of vinyl and a piece of cardboard that it's in with a little insert of paper. It does transcend that and becomes something so beautiful. Like I recently got my temporary secretary 45, finally, Secret Friend on the B-side. Very happy about that. And, you know, I've listened to that song 1,000 times. I've listened to Secret Friends or Secret Friend 1,000 times more. And it wasn't until I got the physical thing where I was like, yeah, now I'm complete. You know, it's not till you have the physical thing where you're like, okay, I can now work on getting over this song. Now I can finally start putting it behind me because.
Oh yeah, and you know, look, there's obviously a greater existential conversation to have about, you know, what material items actually mean and how much we should be valuing them as a part of our collection or our happiness or our existence or anything like that. But, you know, personally, I'm not looking to completely dive into the Buddhist Zen monk lifestyle anytime soon. I will not be relocating to the side of a mountain to eat rice for the rest of my life.
Giuliano.
And that's a massive, probably borderline inappropriate generalization to make. And honestly, all those people are way better off than I am. But as it stands, you know, I know the things that I value, and a large aspect of what I value is what music has meant to me. And so to be able to, you know, own and hold these tangible products and see the artwork and feel the music that was created, not just for my enjoyment, for anyone who can possibly get enjoyment out of it, there's a big beauty to that. I mean, I think it's absolutely wonderful that someone, you know, of a comparable age to me is running a series like this, because I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, we all utilize the streaming services to one degree or another. Like they have their place, but to me, it would be the same, you know, it's buying a record and listening to a record is the same experience as going to a movie theater. I love streaming movies as much as anyone else. I love, you know, buying a DVD as much as anyone else, but it's an experience to go to the theater and the sights and the smells and everything like that. So
yeah,
I think
there are very few memories associated with a streaming incident.
Yeah,
like, but
exactly.
Going out, buying the record, you bumped into someone that day. You also went into this shop. You got stuck in traffic. You know, there's so much there. Where I mean, to be fair, I do remember when I was streaming Egypt Station for the first time. But that's only because it was the first time I'd heard it. I reckon if I'd listened to it on vinyl first, that's where the memory definitely would have took place. But you know what? Let's explore this line a little bit further, because YouTube and Podbean are very good at letting me know my demographics, and about 90+% of my audience is 45 and up. And the morbid question, you know, as someone who is fascinated with wars of attrition, the the idea of replacing and replenishing troops is a very vital aspect of that. And all things must pass, Dylan. All things must pass away. And are there going to be enough troops to man the battle stations in 30 years?
It's difficult to say, certainly. You know,
it's a scary thought, Dylan. It's a scary thought that, you
know. It is.
Well, because there's going to be like 17 more Imagines that come out over the next 3 years, obviously. And what happens when you get to the 17th one and it gets to like number 200 in the charts or something? I was like, oh, this is where we get off the ride now. The magic is over.
Well, I think, you know, and you and I are relatively young. I'm 30, and you're 28, if I remember correctly.
29 now.
29.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you and I are essentially the same age. Sorry, that is my cat's automated lunch.
It wasn't the spider, no.
It was not the spider, which I'm still fucking paranoid about. But, you know, look, you and I, for all intents and purposes, we're still young, but we are at a point where there is a generation below us, you know, and we, and I think all generations need to be very careful to not delve into the old man yells at cloud aspect of things. There are aspects of what the generation after us values and does that we can't really understand. And, you know, without going on another Dylan diatribe, I mean, that's the times they are changing. You know, come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. You know, and so for me to worry about, you know, is physical media gonna die out? Are people going to stop valuing art on the same level? It's like, well, it's a necessary. Or even
stop listening to the Beatles, you know.
Well, but that's the thing. You know, I feel like the worst case scenario. Well, you can't. I was gonna say I feel like the worst case scenarios they'll go the way of a Mozart and a Beethoven, where, you know, there's a large audience still out there of people who love classical music and listen to it, and then there's an even wider array of people like you and I who respect it and enjoy it to a degree, but maybe we're not spinning Beethoven's Ninth every single day, but we recognize the importance. But I also do think that we live in a time, it's so hard to say what's going to be comparable to what, because we're living in a time where we have so much more access to media than we've ever had, thanks to streaming services, social media, so on and so forth. So it's difficult to say. It's not up to us, I think, to dictate what future generations should do, because, you know, that's generally how we get into really, really terrible political ideations and arguments. But I think all that anyone can do is just take a moment to really reflect on what you value and what means a lot to you. And the other great, you know, at the end of the day, it's rule 34. If it's something you can think of, it's something that exists. All right. You know, like, you and I are two people who are really passionate about music and the tangible product that comes along to it. We are not the only ones. And yeah, maybe we're
full of them tonight, man. This is really good.
Sure, you know, and maybe maybe we are younger than a larger population of the people who generally thinks that way, you know, whether that's, you know, a result that we can look at based off of your podcast demographics or whatnot. But the thing is, I mean, we get to know and talk to people like Ethan Alexanian, who is, you know, a decade younger than us, who is just as passionate and understands it all just as much as we do. And there will be generations after that. I think there's always going to be a torch to carry. And regardless of things that you see, you know, diminish or certain things dwindle, the one thing that I'm quote unquote scared of is I don't want CDs to go away, because I think CDs are such a great medium of music, but, you know, they're being phased out. New cars and computers are not being made with CD drives. CDs, I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that vinyl sales are greater than CD sales.
Certainly in terms of dollars, like maybe not units, but dollars, definitely.
So, you know, maybe there will be certain things like that, you know, but at the same time, I mean, cassettes went away for a while. Now cassettes are making a comeback. There's always going to be room for it. And maybe one day when you and I are 80 years old, hopefully still alive and kicking, and we do enter full, you know, old man yells at cloud mode, maybe it will be more of a niche thing. but it's still going to be there. It's always going to be there. And, frankly, I try not to worry too much about it. I think, as with everything else in life, we can only control how we control a situation ourselves. And so for me, that is going to involve, whenever I can afford to, purchasing the tangible product of something that I enjoy and support, and doing everything I can to harvest that, amongst people who, think similarly to me. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, like, for example, you must be young enough to remember LimeWire, the peak of LimeWire.
Yeah, I was more of a Kazaa guy, but yeah.
Okay. No, maybe there's a Euro-American difference. I don't know. But
no, LimeWire was big over here too. But yes, I remember.
The days, the real wild west of the internet, not early internet, not modern internet, but that middle bit where it was just a free for all. And I'd walk up to my dad, because he was the tech savvy one at the time. I'd be like, hey, Dad, here's 50 songs that I want to put on my MP3 player that can only hold 100 songs. Blah 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 blah. Take off Back in Black, put on Kashmir. Whatever. And I remember there was a certain point where, and this is the same with streaming as well, I buy physical product out of guilt, out of sheer guilt. Like McCartney, Tom Waits, Kanye West, the Beatles, Talking Heads, 5 acts that have given me so many hours of joy. And I've listened to them all on streaming. I've illegally downloaded all their stuff. I go on YouTube and watch their live concerts rather than actually going to the live concerts. I'd rather buy fake merch off Etsy that's a bit cheaper. But yeah, I remember buying Magical Mystery Tour purely because I was like, oh God, I need to give something back to the Beatles. I know that this £20 is going to this goblin-looking vendor in Birmingham, but it makes me think at least that somehow, in some way, the Beatles are being recompensed for their hard work. And when McCartney does put out 6 versions of the same album, if I could afford it, I'd buy them. Why not? If your kids are still going to have food in their mouth, you're still going to be able to pay the rent or the mortgage, and you can still buy your spouse a little bouquet of flowers at the end of the day, why not buy 6 copies of the same album? I've crossed the Rubicon. I don't shame the Uber collectors anymore. I've got 5 copies of Chobber. I've got no leg to stand on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
at the end of the day, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it's very in line with what I was saying about, it's how much you value something. And if you know what something means to you and you know what something does for you, then knock yourself out, because we've got this one life that we're conscious of. You might as well fill it with the things that bring you joy. And again, there's a much greater existential conversation to have, like, well, what does it mean to attribute your joy to something physical or something to material?
Don't get too George Harrison on me. We don't all have to prepare for death 24/7.
I'm on a show about collectible things. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, but yeah, should we get this going now that we've lathered everyone up with a great little talk?
I've got a few more questions, but I might intersperse them between the items, so we'll keep it on form. So please, dude, let's go up to your attic. Let's dust off some dust, brush away the cobwebs. You know the opening door creak to Thriller. That's how I imagine going into everyone's attic and
and naturally seeing all of the creatures from the music video.
That video scared the fucking shit out of me as a kid. I know it's a stereotype. Ooh, Thriller scared me. But like, there's that one zombie that he pushes up pustule of blood out of his mouth. Couldn't sleep for weeks, man. Love the dancing.
It's not family friendly.
But Michael Jackson does not endorse the occult in any way at the start. I mean, I do other terrible things, unforgivable things, but I don't endorse the occult.
All right, well, if we had Kid O'Toole before, we don't want to lose her.
Oh, okay? She's gone now. She's gone. She's going to send me a very forthright email.
Stay, Kid. Well, if we go into my attic, there aren't too many cobwebs to dust. This is the I've got a bunch of stuff here with a lot of sentimental value, but I want to start with sort of the newest addition to my collection, which came just maybe a month or two ago when I was browsing through the used bin at a record store, and I came across this kind of interesting looking cover, this by a group called the Dukes, who I had never heard of in my life until I turn it around and I notice, well, this guy looks a little familiar to me. And of course, there we go. Wow. We got Jimmy McCulloch on guitar and vocals, and looking at the
Paul Sally is watching this going, what, they didn't know about the Dukes?
I know.
I'm sorry, Paul, I didn't finish the book. Okay,
this one's for Paul. And then you look and you see the song Heartbreaker. Just Heartbreaker, written by Jimmy McCulloch and Colin Allen, also co-writer of Wino Junko and Medicine Jar and multiple Stone the Crow compositions. And it was just really, for me, fantastic. And then I look at the copyright, and this is 1979. So what we have here is an original, well, not even just an original copy, a promo copy, not for sale. Whoa, original,
that's even cooler. Oh my God.
79 promo copy of and Paul, if you're watching this and commenting, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what I have to imagine is the last project that Jimmy McCulloch was a part of.
Sorry, I thought you meant Paul McCartney for a moment. I was like, Dylan, he's not watching, okay?
Paul, it's
I've never even heard of the Dukes either,
So this was the newest arrangement, I saw the word arrangement, the newest addition to my collection, but pretty fun to be just sifting through, be drawn by the cover and see that face.
Hello.
Yeah. That beautiful face. So,
possibly the best looking member of Wings besides Paul.
Well, that's an insult to Linda McCartney.
I'm talking about blokes here, bro. I'm on a bloke team here.
I think he had his moments.
I think I'd like a more boyish lad like Jimmy rather than a big butch lad like, say, Steve Holly or something like that.
Sure.
I think I'm just letting people know. Like, I mean, I always talk about how I like Linda and how androgynous she is. I'm definitely putting vibes out there. I'm definitely putting them out there. But there's nothing wrong with that, folks. There's nothing wrong with it.
Unless I'm mistaken, you're single, and anyone watching this should know that you're single and know that you're an open-minded guy, and that your DMs are open. And if you're not saying that,
if Tom Hardy drove up and I was on a date with a girl and he said, Sam, get in the car, she wouldn't see me for the tinted windows on his Porsche. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be gone, and he'd hold me in those 6 foot wide arms, and I'd feel safe, Dylan. I'd feel safe.
Listen, seeing Spider-Man 3 in the theaters with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and that smile that James Franco has on his face, and that was a confusing experience for me. Anyway, we're not together anymore. But Caroline, if you're watching, just know that was a confusing experience for me.
No, I remember I was going out with, but I was seeing a girl who then eventually became a drag act, and her drag act is as a man. I was sexually confused in that moment. My penis didn't know what to think. It was all over the place. But anyway. Oh, actually, before the next item, is there anything you regret not picking up? Has anything slipped out of your fingers? Have you ever been outbid on eBay?
Oh, I mean, anything that I regret not picking up has solely been a matter of, I can't afford this right now. There's quite a, but the one thing in particular, I mean, there's so many things. It's like, God, I wish I had the money for that, but
All Things Must Pass, $1,000 box set. You want the gnomes?
I do. I need those gnomes, damn it. But about 6 years ago at Amoeba Records in San Francisco, seeing a first edition British import of Please Please Me up there on the shelf for quite a hefty amount of cash was one time where I was like, man, I could somehow, get
for
this.
me at the moment, for me, it's Off the Ground. Like, there's not a copy of Off the Ground on eBay that's like less than a couple of £100, several $100s as well. It's so
and
rare.
I mean, it's also pretty to get the complete Off the Ground too. Even just that CD, I think, is pretty difficult with the.
Oh yeah, let's just release Off the Ground, the complete works in Netherlands and Germany only. Oh yeah, well done, MPL. What a great move. What a great move, dickheads.
Hey, listen, he saw how it worked out with the Russian album and said, let's take this to the next level. And we're still paying for it years later, but I'm sure that archive set will happen eventually.
So number two, let's move on.
Number two, trying to decide what order I want to go in here. I guess since we're already sort of talking about it and we're showing records right now anyway, I will go with my original pressing of Snova. My original how do you say it? Melodia, I think is the Melodia. My fiance is taking Russian, and I once tried to make her read all of this to me, and she was highly unamused, which really is, I'd say, a theme throughout the 10 years that we've been together. But I will say, I picked this up. So like I said, we have a store back in I'm from a state here in the United States called Rhode Island, for all of you UK viewers, and for all of you US viewers who aren't from the Northeast, know Rhode Island is not a part of New York. It is, in fact, one of the 48 contingent states, the smallest state, small but proud. And I grew up in a small town in the smallest state, and we had a bunch of great independent stores when I was growing up. And the last one standing is called Looney Tunes, where I bought my first used CD with my own money, and I ended up working there for about 6 years. And one day, someone they came in and they had a bunch of used records, and they were like, "Hey, I want to sell these." And I said, "Okay, my boss is the one who prices everything out, so leave them with me. Leave your name and number. He'll go through them and he'll let you know how much." So, and he would always tell me, like, "Hey, if you see something you want, pull it out, and I'll give you an employee price if you want to snag it." So I see the cover, and I was like, "Oh, cool. This is one of the first Paul records I ever listened to." And then looking at it and realizing and doing a bit of research, like, this is OG. This is the original copy. So I was like, man, I got to make something happen here. And so I pulled it out, and I didn't give him any context. And funnily enough, my boss hated Paul's solo work. He was a fan of the first two. He liked McCartney and Ram and nothing else. Not not Band on the Run. Not Band on the Run, not Venus and Mars, not anything like. And don't get him started on silly love songs. So what I did, instead of saying, "Hey, I want to snag this OG Russian copy of this album," I said, "Oh yeah, there's this Paul record from 1987 that's in here." That was all I said, because I knew that would be enough for him to be like, "Just take it." So I got this bad boy for $0.00.
Not such a bad boy anymore. Oh my god.
Not such a bad boy anymore. Hang on.
Can you show me the label so then the fans can work out which factory it came from?
Yeah, well, God, I'm saying it's original. Now I'm going to show the label, and someone's going to be like, "Actually, that's a second or third pressing."
Yeah.
And you know what? If that's true, just don't say anything.
No. It adds to the story. It adds to the story of it. Oh, no. I recognize that color. Yeah, that's one of the originals. Let's have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we got there. Very good condition. No scratches. Little bit of dust on here, but it's
has it got all the songs on it? Has it got I'm Gonna Be a Wheel?
Nope. Which means that
it's real OG then.
Yeah.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love me a bit of Chobber.
It was the first 10,000 copies or something like that. That were maybe a little less than that didn't have that in summertime.
Thank God for the decentralized Russian record making production. Yeah. Oh
so good.
My God.
So very pleased to have that.
You're not going to get that in America. Like, oh, we're going to make 100,000 of them in Maine. We're going to make 100,000 in Kentucky, and then we're going to make 100,000 in Arizona for no reason. And they're all going to have different labels, and they're going to have different tracks on them.
You know what? To my knowledge, now I have to think. Yeah, when things get passed down and things get borrowed and things of that nature, so you don't know the circumstances to which this guy, got this in his collection. But you'd have to imagine to have an original copy of a record that was only released initially in Russia. As far as I know, there were no issues with my boss getting back to him with a price and the guy saying, well, hey, what about that original McCartney record? There were no issues. So I don't know how he didn't know
Family member, maybe. Sounds like that.
But I am the beneficiary of it, and I'm very, very pleased with that.
I mean, as much as I want small businesses to grow, I am very pleased when I meet a record shop owner who knows nothing about what he's doing. Like, I remember getting Aretha Franklin an original pressing of Respect, the single, for like 50p, which is like 28 cents or something like that. And I was like,
at the end of the day, we got to recognize the situations where we just got to look out for ourselves,
Look out for number one. Pull the ladder up, Jack, and sod the rest,
Like, I am a big proponent of doing what's best for the greater good. But, every now and then you got to recognize which opportunities need to be taken.
Show me the Macca. Show me the Macca. Sorry, folks, I've been watching Jerry Maguire today. I'm a bit obsessed.
Well, I am going to show you the Macca. And Sam,
number three.
I'm really excited for this one. So like I said, when I initially got into the Beatles, my dad had the White Album and Let It Be, and I think potentially Past Masters Volume 1 on CD.
Oh, wicked. No, I don't think anyone's ever even said that album on any of my shows yet. Past Masters, everyone remember Past Masters,
Hey, look, grateful for Past Masters. I mean, Past Masters is the ultimate, like, literally every non-album track. Here you go. Although,
you know what? Going back to earlier, would you put Past Masters above Hey Jude as an official album then?
No, they're both.
Okay, no.
Well, but also,
I was just testing the waters, bro.
But Hey Jude was released during their original run, so to some degree, I hold that in "quote unquote" higher regard in the catalog. But Past Masters,
the song selections, it's so good.
What's it? Literally, the only thing that you don't get on it is "Christmas Time Is Here Again." Which when are we going to get the remastered Christmas editions here? But come on, what are we doing, Apple? Let's get on after Let It Be. We've got a year before we got to start doing the 60th anniversary. Please me, 60th anniversary is gonna be 2023. 2022 is wide open. Give us the Christmas stuff.
It's wide open.
Album. Anyway.
Give us Broad Street, press to play, and Off the Ground. Let's do it. Do not give the fans Back to the Egg or London Town for at least a decade. You've got to keep them on tender hooks.
You're evil. You're evil, Mr. Wild.
Don't put Cage on Back to the Egg either. Just don't do it.
I mean, honestly, as egregious as that would be, pretty ballsy, I think, for them to not put the original cut of Something on the Abbey Road set with John's piano coda. I mean, one of the more famous outtakes from the Abbey Road set, especially since that piano part became Remember, the Plastic Ono Band track. Like, we know it exists. It's on YouTube. Just remaster it and put it on the set.
Why wasn't Revolution Take 20 on the White Album box set? Is that like a persona non grata type song? Does the Beatle camp not like that cut? Because it's better than Revolution 9 and it's better than Revolution 1. I like it more than both of them. I do.
Well, to each their own. But I guess the answer is, how are they going to push the 75th anniversary?
No. That'll be into your brain. They'll like be a chip you go like that.
So anyway, so when I was getting into the Beatles, you know, my uncle, who's also a massive collector, massive music fan, he wasted no time. He snail mailed me some of his CD collection, including some stuff. And the first solo Paul record that I ever heard was the first solo Paul record that you and I talked about together, which is Tripping the Live Fantastic. So
you never told me it was the first one you'd ever heard. I don't think you told me that on the 4-hour episode.
The first studio album I heard, he also included Flaming Pie in that package, but this was the first one I listened to because I looked at the back and I saw Beatles songs. So I'm going to listen to this. So these are burned CDs from.
Are those printed album covers then?
From very, very
low
printed
res.
out. It's already a high res album cover as it is. Yeah. But from the year 2000, where you can see my 9-year-old handwriting, I burned this CD on March 15th, 2000. Excellent. And I took the time to write out the track list on the inside and obviously across the CD. And I even took the time burning the album artwork to add with my computer the disc 1 to the label there, my little album. But yeah, very, very low res on the back. You know, this has got to be, I imagine, back in the day before we had our 80-minute CDs, probably can hold 74 minutes worth of music. But that right there, the Sony CDR with all the artwork in there, and the original Maxell CDR album artwork in there.
That's so if there are younger people watching this, you're not going to appreciate how cool this is right now. You're really not. Like, unfortunately, I had my dad's old CD collection here of like just all of his. You know what? I'm sure I've got some of that stuff in it.
Your face is collapsing.
Speaking of Mozart, that's my dad's Mozart. See, I've chucked them all away. Stevie Wonder box set. Appear on camera. There we are. Excellent stuff. But yeah,
I mean,
those blanks. Like, do you remember when you'd get a blank CD or a computer software and it would have like a vampire on the front and make it look like a video game, and it was just computer software? Kids just like, what is that, an app or something? It's like, no. You buy blank CDs.
One, and now, you know, I still burn CDs all the time. Just, you know, on iTunes. Yeah, right. But like, I still do it with iTunes and everything. But
allegedly. Yeah, I mean, that's just ink on a blank disc. The songs are not actually on there.
So. Well, yeah, this was through a whole program, and like, I don't know, like I guess actually this was before my birthday that year, so I was 8 years old, like I said. And I burned this on the 15th. I burned this on the 16th, year 2000, as you can see right there.
It's pre 9/11. This thing. Oh my god!
You can see too. You can see too that it's kind of yellowing right here on the side.
You left out in the sun.
Yeah, that's how long I've had it there in storage. But this was one of the first. This was the first solo Paul thing that
I love it.
I have available to me, and I will never ever throw these away.
Please never do. Oh my gosh,
it's too good. That's my number 3. My number 4 coming around from the same time when I was getting to them, and I don't know. I'm admittedly not as in touch with the greater Beatles bibliography. Like, I know the big one, obviously Hunter Davies, or is it Davis or Davies?
haven't read it. I don't know.
It's one of the two.
Folks, check out my episodes with Joe Wisby. I don't think I can read.
But obviously there's that, and there's, some of the other more infamous ones or well-known ones. There's,
John Called Me Normal, shit like that.
Yeah, Lewison and Emmerich's book, so on and so on. So I'm about to show you, I don't know, it might be a really well-known one, it might be a really obscure one, I don't know.
Is it Blackbird by Jeffrey Giuliano?
It is not Blackbird.
Come on.
Jeffrey Giuliano. It is The Walrus Was Paul by R. Gary Patterson. Now, from what I can tell, obviously it's not first edition because it's paperback. But okay, so copyrights 96 and 98. So I'll need to probably go to the great Beatles in Book and in Print Facebook page with John Bazzini to figure out, again, this could be a really well-known one. I don't really know, but I had to pull it out because I've had this for as long as I can remember. And, as you know, being a fan of any artist, or when you're young, being able to explore their entire history is so important. And for me, it wasn't just the fact that I loved the Beatles' music. It was the fact that, like, wow, this band is, like, everyone calls them the greatest of all time. Why did they say it? Like, wow, all four of them sang. Like, there's two, I guess, sort of lead singers, John and Paul, but George sings quite a bit too, and Ringo does. There's a mystique to it. There's a mystique to, and especially for me, the first album I ever hear being the White Album. I mean, I'm going immediately balls deep.
End, yeah.
It's not like I'm starting with "I Want to Hold Your Hand," or "Yellow Submarine."
I told you about strawberry fields. What's that?
Exactly.
What's that?
The third Beatles song I ever heard was a song about self-referential mythology. I mean, so that's what I'm jumping into.
Yeah.
So, and I learned very early on, I'm sure my dad told me about Paul is Dead. And I've had to have had this book at least since I was 10 or 11 years old. And, of course, I knew immediately he wasn't actually dead. But again, same thing. The White Album is the first album I owned. And I remember so vividly sitting cross-legged on my old bedroom floor, looking through the artwork and the lyrics, and there in that artwork you have the photo of the skeleton reaching out for Paul in the photo, and you have the photo of William Campbell before he was turned into,
and the hand above the head, and
it's all right there. I remember distinctly. So I moved. I had two childhood homes. The first one I grew up in, we moved right after my 9th birthday, and I remember still being in my old
just
house.
After you burnt the fucking album.
Exactly, right. We moved in we moved actually really shortly after I burned this record. I think we moved in May of 2000, and I remember making some comment to my dad about the Paul is Dead thing when we were still in our first house. So I was right there with it. I don't remember if I had this book yet, but as a young up and coming, and look, you talk to different Beatles fans, scholars, historians, podcast hosts, and it runs the gamut from people who think it's amazing and fascinating to people who have no use for it. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about it. It's so dumb. It's so stupid, whatever. Which, I respect all of that. But for me, it's, I don't think about it all that much because obviously none of it's true. But as a young fan, getting into the Beatles and understanding the scope of the Beatles, their historic significance and what they meant culturally at the time, it's an important thing, I think, to know about and to understand, and to have a book going through every chapter. And then, of course, having all the photos in the middle, detailing where everything is.
Color photos of the Beatles are just magnetic, aren't they?
There you go. Love the three Beatles, says Ringo's bass drum. It's and yeah, you're right, the palm above the head.
Everybody's got one.
To me, to have different chapters on every record and every cover, to have a frequently asked questions section. I mean, this and this whole mythology played such a big part in my early Beatles fascination, and given where I'm at now over 2 decades later, even if it's not something I consciously think about, it all relates back to that childlike wonder of discovering something new and going all into it. And so for me, again, I don't know, I might be showing this and there might be a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, I've got that book. Like, it's, there's a bunch of Paul is Dead books. This is just another crappy one in paperback. You could probably find it at any bookstore or whatever. I don't know, maybe it is, but for me, this is so important to the overarching fascination and intrigue of the Beatles and of Paul McCartney. The fact that it's distinct to Paul. It could have been John is Dead. It could have been there. I do remember a really, really crappy George is Dead site that popped up, obviously before George was actually dead.
Oh, really?
God, I don't know. I'm sure it would be so hard to find.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you seen The Last Will and Testament of George Harrison?
No.
It's a fake documentary put out by a proper right winger, from what I've been able to gather, and it's clearly some guy just doing this. And Moxwell was our CIA agent who told us not to. And it's like, the moment you put the smallest amount of logic into the Paul is Dead thing, it's like, okay, so why weren't the other 3 Beatles killed the moment they put out the first clue?
Well,
because the CIA have got the cloning tech, they've got it, so why not clone all 4 Beatles and just control them perfectly? Okay, why allow these loose ends?
This is the thing, Sam. If you don't think about it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to go with it.
28 if he was 27,
If I can somehow pull up, because again, so George died in 2001, so I'm gonna go and search for a website that is literally over 20 years old, if it still exists at all. It could have been
use the Wayback Machine. It'll be on the Wayback Machine.
Sure, I'll search for it. But if I can find, I'll remember the exact site, because I remember there was one clue that was literally like something like going back to A Hard Day's Night.
He said Gotti, and that's actually an Indian word for death.
Well, no, it's on the cover, one of George's photos is just blank. It's blank because he wasn't there to take the last photo. And he sings, "I'm happy just to dance with you." He's happy. He'd be happy for such a small thing because he's dead. It was all stuff like that.
I don't want to spoil the party because I'm dead. Well, I took some honey from a tree, dressed it up, and oh fuck, I'm dead. Everybody's trying
up, and they called it me because I'm dead. So
yeah, I'm within you and without you because I'm a spirit now. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Once they get to the spiritual,
I was killed on Blue Jay Way.
If I can find that site, I'll send it to you, and maybe you can link to it in the description.
Dude, we could do a whole episode where you and me just go through the website, because we can do a screen. I haven't done screen share yet, where like I pull up an image and our faces are still in the corner of the screen or something. I think that could be really funny.
As soon as we're done filming this, I'm gonna search for it, because that
we are gonna have a little 10-minute break in between recordings, and you look for that in your 10 minutes. You got homework, my friend. You really
perfect. Do. So for my final one is a few different things, and so I'm gonna give you a bit here of my ancient Beatles stash. All this is literally maybe 1/100th of what I have. I pulled
that. He's going crazy right now. You're gonna pull up some shit that even he hasn't seen. Oh my god.
And I don't know. For some reason I cut out just so this is a July 2002 Home Theater magazine, but I literally, for whatever reason, just cut off the cover. Maybe maybe there wasn't anything actually in the magazine, but we've got a photo of Paul here. This has got to be, this is a late 80s, early 90s Paul. And they're advertising down here. I actually own this. It's an unauthorized documentary called The Beatles Celebration, like one of those DVDs you buy in the dollar store.
And they've got no actual Beatle music in the documentary.
Exactly.
Whatsoever.
It's all archival footage. And oh, here is the sister of the ex-best friend of a guy who dated Frida Kelly for 2 weeks. You know, well, let me tell you all about their media.
Let me tell you all about McCartney. We're like this.
So,
we're like this.
But I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe someone can tell me exactly where that screenshot's from. But the only other movies that are being advertised here, we've got Mission Impossible 2. We've got Ghostbusters. We've got Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Batman and Robin. You know, for all you
These
Clooney
are all terrible movies. Oh my god.
But yeah, you know. But we just got and no. You know, they're advertising, you know, the speakers and all the tuners and everything. And we've got all the remotes and the DVD players and everything. We just have a photo of Paul. And then that maybe I can only imagine, you know, this is almost 20 years ago.
I didn't sign off on that. You know?
My rationale at the time must have been just like I looked through the magazine and there was nothing else. I'm like, well, I only need to save the cover. But you know,
I was the same with dinosaurs back in the day, dude. Anything with dinosaurs on the front.
Dude, I wanted to be a paleontologist. I could spell pterodactyl.
Do you remember when you were a kid and you thought being a paleontologist was a sexy, well-paid job, and then you grow up and you're like, oh fuck that. No. How long do I have to spend outside?
We only had Jurassic Park to go off of.
Jurassic Park, the movie where full skeletons of dinosaurs are perfectly preserved.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not just one spine, you know, bit of spine or a bit of rib, you know.
No, you just find all the dinosaurs all the time. But I was
in that position.
So I was cutting out stuff, you know. I cut this was when he topped the Rolling Stone Rock's richest list in 2003. He was the biggest rock star, making the most amount of money. Oh, and
still has to be, surely.
We see, oh wow, okay, we get apparently Jay-Z already back in 2003 was number 9, Celine Dion number 4.
We'll go on.
Interesting. Dave Matthews Band number 3.
What?
Eminem 5 and Cher is 6. I didn't cut out number
2003
2.
was a weird
What a great time. Yeah, so I've got that. I've got a Rolling Stone concert review from the Driving USA tour. You know, so obviously, and this would eventually become the Back in the US and the Back in the World releases. And interestingly, I cut this out for 2 reasons, I guess. Firstly, because it was a Beatles related thing, so I had to cut it out. But also, it's from the April 6, 2002 concert in Vegas, April 6, 2002, which marked my 11th birthday. So apparently on my 11th birthday, Paul rocked the shit out of Vegas, according to this. But the 2 that I had to highlight, so I can't.
Were these cut out of a Playboy magazine or?
Well, no, this was cut out of some tabloid. So to give you, but obviously this is back in 2002. So this is when he's getting together with Heather. Because we have Beatle Paul. I was a cocaine addict, but Linda saved him. And the basic premises of it is, well, I'm about to marry this new woman. They're not even married yet. So I'm laying it all out on the table for her. I'm shedding my demons. And of course, you know, most of us, you know, I was a cocaine addict, but when you read it, it's kind of what we've always known, which is like, yeah, I did a bit of coke in 67 or 68, and then I stopped, and
I bet 76 Wings Over America.
Oh,
they were all doing coke then.
Oh, but there is and look, I want to be on the record here. I've never done cocaine. I never will do cocaine. I think, and without wanting to cast judgment, because we all have our issues.
We got to finish this episode quick, folks.
Yeah, I know. I don't know anyone out there, your story or anything like that, so I don't mean this to come off in a bad way, but I think just given that we don't really, I think it's a very irresponsible thing to do given how addictive it can be, A, and B, you don't know what's made where and what's laced with what. So I want that to be clear, because there is a difference between a cocaine addict and someone who can and does recreationally do cocaine. I think that Paul did his fair share of cocaine in the late 60s and definitely the mid to late 70s, but for anything that we've ever known, and maybe there's stuff beneath the scenes, it doesn't seem like he was an addict in the way that, Ringo was an alcoholic and John was a heroin addict. I think it's
a lot of it though, and I've had issues with substance, not abuse, but just taking it a bit too far too regularly. So shall we say? I'm not talking cocaine, just a bit of the old bud. But
what was that? What was that?
That's me sucking a tiny dick.
Okay.
Now, a lot of the issue is just when you've got it laying about the house, stuff laying about the house.
Sure.
When you go to a bar or a pub, you don't take 6 beers back with you. But no. McCartney in, say, 70, when he's up in Scotland, there's just I imagine a Scarface pile of marijuana.
Oh, yeah. Well,
look, cockroaches,
and then being one of the biggest rock stars in the world in 76, doing Wings Over the World, Wings Over America. It's like, yeah, there's...
Oh, no, even if he said, I don't want any cocaine, there'd be a bowl next to his bed, like, oh, here's your cocaine.
So good. And I think I remember, this could be wrong, but I remember, him being not a musical guest on SNL, but just he was there at some SNL party in the mid to late 70s where like mescaline was on the rider or the menu. They had to have mescaline there. So look, I'm not downplaying it, but I do think just the tabloid aspect of it. I was a cocaine addict! ! Beatle Paul, not Paul McCartney. That's Beatle Paul.
Any references to Lavatory Lil in that at all? Or
no, this was maybe before he realized that Lil had come from the lavatory. But then, truly my favorite one.
Oh, here we go.
So a bit of context here. The aforementioned back in the U.S. live disc, which I can't wait to eventually. Now that we've done Trippin' the Live Fantastic together.
No. I was literally just thinking that we should, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I want to corner the market as soon as you do get off the ground out there. I need to do Paula's live with you. I want to corner the live market on your show now.
That's totally fair. Ken Michaels has got album reviews. Ed Chen has got music videos. John Davenport has got covers. You can have the live stuff. Totally fine with that.
We get to talk about Good Evening New York City, Amoeba Gig.
But
so the big thing for back in the US was Paul decided, and mind you, this is less than 2 years after George had died, so, and when George died, there wasn't as quick a rush to make him a martyr in the same way that people did to John, but certainly people feeling the loss and people very oddly somehow taking that out on the surviving members whose only crime is that they're still alive. But Paul decided, after this huge tour where he memorialized George every night by playing something, and John by bringing Here Today back to the set, decided to drudge up the old issue from Wings Over America where I'm going to credit these songs to McCartney Lennon.
And Yoko got pissed off with that, didn't she?
Which Yoko, and the rumors that I've heard, and please someone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, the rumors
was even Olivia pissed off with that. Oh my god.
Well, no, the rumors that I heard back in the 70s with Wings Over America was that Yoko got pissed off by it and John was like, it's not a big deal, so like who cares. But now John's not around, and so there was a big thing about Yoko making a statement after these songs, and then I think he might have even said like, well, I want to credit Yesterday to just McCartney, which, to
totally fair.
Well, but also to Yoko's credit or to the other Beatles credit is like, look, for better or for worse, these guys made a deal, and they did it throughout the Beatles. John didn't go back and try to make Julia just a Lennon song.
Give Peace a Chance is credited to Paul McCartney as well. He's
Initially
clearly not involved in it.
So the thing is, it's like, I hate to say I don't care, but my thing is like, look, regardless of if John wrote everything in one song or Paul wrote everything in one song, that's the deal they made. It's all Lennon McCartney to me. But this was McCartney Lennon, and I had to save this because there was an article about it, and I'm sure I have the article saved in there sometimes, but this was...
You've got to give all of this stuff to the Paul McCartney project, by the way. He would love all... Nicholas Leroy would love all of this.
I'm sure he's got a lot of this, but this was from the next issue or the issue after that. So first we've got beautiful,
that's so
artwork. So this is the
Ethan, make that Dylan's thumbnail. Thank you very much. If you need that. Yeah.
There we go. I'll get it right in there. So I had to pull this out. So these are the readers' responses. Now I want to read these to you. Here are the two pragmatic responses, the most pragmatic responses. From Adam Harris in Radford, Virginia. Why can't Yoko Ono, her lawyers, and Paul McCartney accept the collaboration that is songwriting? What matters is that there are 200 songs that wouldn't have existed if not for either John or Paul. Lennon McCartney, Paul McCartney, and John Lennon. It still means a good Beatles song no matter who sings it on which record. Surely I'm not the only one that feels the Courtney Love aspect in this situation. Now, I very much agree with Adam here. That's exactly what I just said. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, it was Lennon and McCartney for a reason. Still somewhat pragmatic, slightly less pragmatic. We have Jim Spalding from Reese, Michigan. Give it a rest, Sir Paul. Everybody knows what a great songwriter you are. Can't you do something more productive with your time, like come back out on tour? None of you would be in the history books without a little help from your friends. We loved John and George, but we love you and Ringo just as much. So please keep your shit together. We will still need you. We will still feed you when you're 64. So
did you write that, or did you help that guy write that?
I did it, but
it's like a BBC review. It's full of so many puns. Oh my god!
But the other two here, and this is, I guess, a part of the greater conversation about this sort of weird rap that Paul gets, as somehow not an artist on the level of John Lennon or George Harrison or... Oh yeah,
John Lennon, that great composer who, He
was, and George Harrison was, and Paul McCartney. Look, all of these three guys, and Ringo as an artist in his own right, they hold such different places both within the band and within history and within their solo careers. You can't... People who take I just don't get it. And certainly, I know I'm talking to a Paul McCartney podcast.
No, Dylan, you've heard there's people who broke up friendships in 69, 70 because the Beatles broke up, and then one went with one with the other.
Which is
my god, what a shitty friendship you must have had.
Exactly. It's so dumb. But that being said, there is absolutely this anti-Paul sentiment that gets thrown out there by people who dare to call themselves fans. So I want to highlight Gary Groves from Montgomery, Alabama, saying,
"Come on, Gary.
If the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, then Paul must be bigger than God." And Diana Williamson from Los Angeles, California, "It seems like fame has finally rotted Paul McCartney's brain. How tacky to stage a war with a dead cohort and his widow. When will he learn that the earth does not revolve around him?" When will this guy, when was he gonna learn? So I had to pull this out because I think in the last 10 years, maybe, we've seen a bit more of a reappraisal and a reappreciation for Paul McCartney, and thankfully so. And I'm not gonna do so by playing the other side of it and saying, oh well, fuck John Lennon, Paul was the real artist. Like, no, don't play that game, because we would not have any of this without any of those guys. They were so important to each other. You know, I refuse.
It's different skill sets as well. Like Paul's a composer, John's a poet, and
Exactly.
George is
Look,
and George is a musician. You know, those are three distinct jobs. You know what I mean?
it seems like in some people's minds, the argument essentially becomes like, well, it seems like the major crime that Paul committed was having an undying love for producing music. You know, it's
for
like
not quietly going into the night. You know.
yeah, and it's like, and look, I love John Lennon and I love George Harrison. And all four of them, I mean, talk about supremely complex, flawed human beings. You know, there's a lot that we can talk about. I mean, John gets the brunt of it these days, people drudging up his past, but you want to tell me that Paul doesn't have quite a bit there in other ways too? Of course he does. George Harrison, but to some degree, I think, you know, what makes John and George so interesting is that they were very open about, you know, George was very open about saying, look, I'm a Pisces fish. He wouldn't come out and say these words, but essentially, hey, I'm going to hit you with Hare Krishna on one day, and then I'm going to go sleep with my buddy Ringo's wife the other day on a huge alcohol and cocaine bender. You know, very complex. Paul is the guy who, you know, has always been, you know, such a again, all of these great love songs, and there he is calling Yoko a super racist nickname when he's getting mad at John, and you know, shying away from this girl that he slept with in Hamburg in the early 60s who has a kid that looks shockingly a little bit like Paul McCartney.
Hey, Hugh Padgham, did you write Yesterday? No, you didn't. Shut the fuck up.
Look,
that's not a literal transcription, but that was the emotion of, you know.
These guys are all complex musicians, human beings. I'm so sick of people trying to wage these wars against them when they're all so flawed and vast and interesting. But I do like that. And look, Paul deserves some shit, because there have been times where Paul's ego has gotten in the way massively.
No. It's the weed in the baby's nappy that always gets me. That's the one factor. I'm like, dude, that's really irresponsible. That's
well, but
just have a tolerance break, asshole.
There's a lot that we could go on about Paul, but some of the things that were used against Paul over really since John died, you know, it's irresponsible. So I had to pull all of these out, you know, just as the sentimental, hey, here's a big part of my but this one's I saw in particular, it's like, wow, how far we've come. You know, certainly there's people who still think like this, the John Lennon stands, as opposed to people who just love all of them and value all of them for different reasons. But you know, like all four of these responses to some degree are kind of negative. Even the pragmatic responses are pointing the finger at Paul to some degree. And so I thought it was fascinating to pull this out from 2003, and you know, just to have all these.
It's a historical document. They're a historical document.
1/100th of what I've got in that tub of war.
How much do you reckon the reappraisal of Paul is down to the fact that he's had 3 good albums in a row? New, Egypt Station, McCartney 3. Because Paul has good albums, but rarely does he have good albums in a row. It normally goes good, medium, okay, great, good, medium, okay, great. You know what I mean? There's that kind of up and down.
Sure. Well, that's a difficult argument to make, because that's a very subjective argument. I think the better argument to make is that he's had 3 critically acclaimed records in a row. Because that's the thing. It's like, I know people who love New and Macca 3 and they hate Egypt Station. I know people who think Egypt Station was the best thing he's like ever done, but the other, you know, that aspects of it's all subjective. But I think
he's also with Capitol now, who have just got the best marketing department ever.
I mean, look, you know, all of these legacy acts, it comes back around, you know. God, I don't remember the last time that Rolling Stone didn't give U2 or Springsteen a 5-star rating for records that, you know, look, I love Springsteen and I like U2, but some of these records they're throwing out 5 stars to. Really? really rolling.
Same with Oasis. Always happens with Oasis.
Exactly.
Well.
You know, but you know, all the, you know, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Tom Waits, you know, you can go on. The Stones, obviously, like at a certain point they can do no wrong in the critic's eyes. It's very, very hard for them to do that. But I think as time goes on, I think people sort of realize how lucky we are to still have these people, because you see when someone passes away in the last 5 years alone, we just lost one of the Rolling Stones. We've lost 2 of the members of Cream. We lost Tom Petty. We lost Prince. We lost Bowie. We lost Leonard Cohen. You know, it's happening. And the hits
when you list them like that, fucking hell.
Greg Allman, Chris Cornell, you know, and honestly, over the next 10
Chester
years.
Bennington as well. Fucking hell.
Yeah, over the next 10 years, the hits are just going to keep coming. So I think to some degree, there's a greater level of appreciation. Like, let's love on these guys while they're here. And, you know, we need critical reevaluations. We need historical reevaluations, because, you know, you look at records that were either trashed at the time or records that were praised at the time, and you look back on it now and go, okay, let's look at this for what it was. Like, or even let's look at, why was Paul treated the way he was in the aftermath of John's death? Why was John treated the way he was before his death? A lot of people don't realize that John was kind of a fucking joke to a lot of people before he died. He just put out...
What didn't, like, Double Fantasy sell terribly, and the single sold terribly before he died?
It was reviewed terribly, and, you know, John was trying, like, I think he had reached out to Clapton to see if Clapton would play with him again, and Clapton, coming off the throes of making a terrible racist comment on stage, probably should have taken that bait. But even Clapton was like, yeah, I don't know, dude. You know, there's a lot there that you have to look back on. But I think to some degree, yeah, just recognizing, like, wait, why are we wasting any time? Not that you can't be critical of someone. You should be critical of someone.
And we've spoken about toxic positivity and negativity before.
Absolutely. It's all a thing. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do you value most? You value the music. This is the person who's made the music. They're still here. Let's appreciate them to whatever degree we can. And certainly for some people, like our mutual friend, Mr. Hunyadi, I know he's a big Morrissey fan. And I can't imagine the cross to bear of being a Morrissey fan, you know, because dude,
I love The Pianist, but I'm like, fuck you, Polanski. Fuck you.
You know,
Carnage, another Polanski film. Stop making good movies because I can't enjoy them. I can't talk to my friends about them.
So, you know, and that's the other thing. Like, in terms of McCartney, the art should have always been celebrated. But, you know, you do have that, you know, well, let's separate the art from the artist. But yes, of course. But, you know, if the artist happens to be a relatively good person or a generally good person who you admire and appreciate, then hell yeah, let's reappraise that. You know, it's got to happen. And I think there's a lot there with Paul, who has as many flaws and skeletons in his closet as much as anyone else. Not a perfect person, never has been. But you know what? This is a guy who, once he got married, he spent 11 days apart from her. And those 11 days were spent in a Japanese jail cell. You know, this guy, you know, just his devotion to his family and his devotion to really giving the fans, you know, presumably what they want, continuing to go out on tour, you know, over the last 20 years, rarely letting up and putting everything into these arrangements, into the live show. Like, man, this is a guy who really has his finger on the pulse of what he values. And isn't that what we all want? Isn't that why we're talking today? We have our finger on the pulse of what we value. And I think we see a lot of ourselves and our heroes sometimes when we want to. And I think for Paul, being able to take a step back and being like, you know what? Dude's not perfect, but there's a lot here to appreciate and there's a lot here to enjoy. So I think that's probably what it is.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have been through Dylan's attic, or his loft, as we would say here in the UK. Macca in your loft doesn't have the same kind of ring to it, though.
Paul loft.
Yeah. Paul in your loft, or yeah.
Sounds gross.
Are there any McCartney songs with oft in? Is there a song with soft in it, or
a certain softness?
A certain loftness, yeah. There we go.
There we go.
Oh,
very good.
God, that's funny. Right, everyone. we've been through Dylan's attic, and we have been through his entire fucking life as well. This has been an excellent episode of the show. This is exactly why I want to do this show. I don't really care about seeing another fucking Butcher cover. I want to see your mass-produced copy of Sergeant Pepper, but it's got your mom's handwriting on it or something like that. That's what means something to me. And yeah, you've given me exactly what I wanted from this show. It's been so tender and touching and heartwarming. I can only thank you. Thank you for letting us pry into your life a little bit, Dylan. It's been really fun.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thanks for letting me ramble as always. Always a pleasure. I can't stress enough, man. I think it's awesome that you're doing this show, and I think it's awesome that you'll be releasing Off the Ground very soon. Can't edit that out.
I'll get right on that. But luckily, this episode, you know what? If I can get Off the Ground out before this episode debuts in like 8 weeks,
it'll be a minor miracle.
It'll be a minor miracle indeed. We all know how long it took for the Pipes of Peace episode to come out, and there wasn't even a death of a family member for that production. So, whatever, you'll get Off the Ground maybe 2029, maybe something like that. But folks, you can actually watch the conversation me and Ken Marcus have had about all the songs, the part 2, on the Patreon. But that's not for this show. That's Paul or Nothing stuff. And speaking of Paul or Nothing, me and Dylan need a 10-minute break now, because we're actually going to be recording a portion of an episode of Paul or Nothing very shortly. Keep your eyes peeled and ears to the ground for that one. Dylan, thank you so much for coming on, Paul. This has been an absolute pleasure. We're definitely going to speak soon, so I'm not going to drag this out. I'll see you soon, buddy. All right?
See you soon, Sam. Thanks.
Peace and love. No more autographs.